I used to think peonies were pretty straightforward. You plant them, wait for the blooms, enjoy them for a week or two, and then just like that, they're done. But there are a few simple things that can make a big difference. Some help your peonies bloom better, some help you stretch the season longer, and some help you avoid common mistakes that can cost you flowers. And one tip lets you cut peony buds before they open and save them in the refrigerator for later. So today I'm sharing 7 peony tips I wish I knew sooner. Tip number 1. Peonies hate being planted too deep. The first thing a lot of people don't know about peonies is that planting depth really matters. And honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons peonies don't bloom. Peonies do not like being planted too deep. When you plant a bare root peony, you'll usually see a little pink or red buds on the root. Those are called the eyes. And those eyes should usually be about 1 to 2 inches below the soil surface. Not 5 inches deep. Not let me tuck this in nice and cozy deep. Just lightly covered. Because if those eyes are planted too far down, the plant may grow beautiful green foliage, but give you absolutely no flowers, which is very rude after you've waited all year. So if your peony looks healthy but refuses to bloom, planting depth is one of the first things I would check. It might not be a fertilizer problem, it might not be a pruning problem, it might simply be sitting too deep in the ground. And this can also happen over time if you keep adding mulch or soil around the crown. Mulch around the plant is fine, but don't pile it right on top of the crown like you're tucking it into bed for winter. Peonies are tough. They do not need a soil comforter. The next thing people don't always realize is that peonies can benefit from fertilizer, especially if you want strong plants and better blooms. But this is where you have to be careful. You do not want to throw a high nitrogen fertilizer at them. Too much nitrogen can encourage lots of leafy growth, but not necessarily more flowers. We're not growing peonies for a giant leafy bush. We want the blooms. So for peonies, I'd like to look for fertilizer where the middle number is higher than the first number. For example, bulb tone is a 353, so that middle number is higher, which makes it a better fit for supporting blooms and strong roots instead of just pushing foliage. A lot of gardeners fertilize peonies in early spring when the new growth starts coming up. Then you can feed again after blooming in the fall to help the plant rebuild energy for next year. And that's the part people forget. After peonies bloom, they're not done working. The plant is already storing energy for next year's flowers. So that after bloom care really does matter. Just don't dump fertilizer directly on the crown of the plant. Sprinkle it around the drip line, work it in lightly, and water it in. Peonies like support. They do not like being smothered. Tip number 3. You should deadhead peonies, but don't cut the whole plant down. After peonies bloom, the flowers can go from gorgeous to sad, wet tissue paper very quickly. And once the blooms are spent, you should deadhead them. Deadheading means removing the old flowers after they're done blooming. Now, this is important. Deadheading peonies will not make them bloom again that same season. I wish. But it does help the plant stop putting energy into seed production, and it keeps the plant looking much cleaner in the garden. To deadhead a peony, cut the old flower stem back to a strong set of leaves, but do not cut the whole plant down after it blooms. Those leaves are still doing a very important job. They're basically little solar panels feeding the roots and helping the plant store energy for next year. So after blooming, remove the ugly spent flowers, but leave the foliage alone till fall. Then once the foliage starts to decline later in the season, that's when you can cut it back. Tip number 4. You can extend peony season by planting different bloom times. This is one of my favorite peony tricks because a lot of people don't realize not all peonies bloom at the same time. So if you only plant one variety, you might get one amazing week of flowers, and then it's over. Very dramatic, very beautiful, very short-lived. But if you plant a mix of early, mid-season, and late blooming peonies, you can stretch out the blooming season. Now, exact timing depends on your climate, your zone, and the spring weather. A warm spring can speed everything up. A cooler spring can slow everything down. But the idea is the same. Choose peonies with different bloom windows so that they don't all open at once. I'll put some examples on the screen so you can screenshot them for later. So instead of planting one peony and being personally offended when it's done blooming in a week, you can plant early, mid-season, and late varieties. Then your peony season feels much longer, and then this is where peony shopping becomes dangerous, because suddenly you're not buying more plants. You're creating a bloom season strategy. Very different, very responsible. Tip number 5, you can cut peonies and save them for later. This next tip feels like garden magic. You do not have to wait until peonies are fully open to cut them. In fact, if you want them for a vase, a bouquet, a wedding, a graduation, or any other special event, you actually want to cut them before they fully open. The trick is to cut them at what's called the marshmallow stage. That means the bud is showing color and feels soft when you gently squeeze it. Not hard like a marble, not wide open, soft, squishy, kind of like a marshmallow. That's the sweet spot. When you cut the peonies at this stage, they can still open beautifully later. And this is especially helpful because peonies do not care about your schedule. They are not looking at your graduation party. They are not checking your wedding date. They bloom when they bloom. But if you cut them at the right stage, you can have a little more control. And here's the really cool part. You can refrigerate them. After cutting them, remove most of the leaves, wrap the stems gently in newspaper, and store them in the refrigerator. When you're ready to use them, bring them out, recut the stems, put them in water, and let them open. It is such a cool trick if your peonies are blooming too early and you want to save them for later. Tip number 6. Ants on peonies are not that big of a deal. So let's talk about the ants. Because every year someone sees ants crawling all over their peony buds and immediately thinks something is wrong. But ants on peonies are usually not a problem. Peony buds produce a sweet, sticky nectar, and ants are attracted to it. They are basically there for the snack bar. They are not required for the peonies to bloom. That's a common myth. Your peonies can open without ants, but the ants are also usually not hurting the plant. So if you see ants on your peonies outside, don't panic. The only time it becomes annoying is when you cut peonies and bring them inside. So before bringing peonies into the house, give them a gentle shake outside. Tip number 7. Peonies can live for decades, but they don't like to be moved around. The last thing a lot of people don't know is that peonies can live for a very long time, like decades. Some peonies can outlive the person who planted them, which is kind of amazing. But they do not love being moved around all the time. Peonies like to settle in. So when you plant one, think carefully about the spot. They need plenty of sun, good drainage, and enough space so they're not crowded. If you move them, they may take a couple of years to really settle back in and bloom well again. That doesn't mean you can never move a peony. You can. Fall is usually the best time to move or divide them, but don't be surprised if they sulk a little afterward. Peonies are dramatic like that. They'll come back, but they may need time. So the best thing you could do is plant them in the right place from the beginning and let them do their thing. So those are the peony tips I wish I knew sooner. Peonies are easy once they're established, but these little details make such a difference. Plant them at the right depth, don't bury the eyes too deep, fertilize at the right time, but don't overdo the nitrogen, deadhead the spent blooms, but leave the foliage until fall, choose early, mid-season, and late varieties to stretch the bloom season. Cut buds at the marshmallow stage and refrigerate them for later. Don't panic over ants. Once your peony is happy, try not to move around unless you really need to. Because when peonies are planted right and cared for properly, They reward you with those big, beautiful blooms for years, maybe even decades. And honestly, that is the kind of low effort garden drama I fully support.